It was a chilly Saturday evening in Charleston, South Carolina. The Langston family had reserved the grand ballroom of the historic Middleton estate for a private charity event. Billionaire tech mogul Nathan Langston stood tall near the entrance, dressed sharply in a tailored navy suit, greeting guests with a warm but practiced smile. His son, 10-year-old Mason, sat quietly in his wheelchair beside him, his tiny hands folded in his lap. Mason was born with cerebral palsy. Though his mind was sharp and full of curiosity, his body often refused to cooperate. And while Nathan had built an empire from nothing, when it came to his son, he felt helpless. Inside, the room glittered with chandeliers and laughter, clinks of champagne glasses, and polite conversation. But Mason looked uninterested until he saw her across the room. A waitress with a high ponytail and warm brown eyes glided between tables. She wore a crisp white shirt and black slacks, balancing trays like a pro. Her name tag read, Raina. She noticed Mason watching her and smiled. On her next pass, she crouched beside him. "Hey there, big guy," she said, her voice soft. "Having fun yet?" Mason blinked, then slowly smiled. Nathan noticed from afar but said nothing. His son rarely smiled like that. Raina returned during her break, kneeling again beside Mason. "Do you like music?" she asked. Mason nodded slowly. "Well," she grinned, "when the next song comes on, how about we do a little dance? I'll follow your lead." Mason's eyes widened. Nathan, watching from a few steps away, raised an eyebrow. A waitress? Dancing with his son? He started to interrupt, but something held him back. The music shifted. A slow, cheerful jazz tune filled the room. Raina stood, gently took Mason's hands and began a slow movement. Letting him guide, guests turned to watch. Nathan's heart pounded, and in that moment, for reasons he couldn't explain, everything began to change. The room had quieted, eyes turned from champagne glasses and hors d'oeuvres to the small, gentle scene in the middle of the floor. Mason, his arms trembling but determined, led the slow, swaying motion as Raina followed, her smile never leaving her face. She moved at his pace, never rushing, never correcting Nathan. Watched frozen. Something inside him cracked open, something that had been sealed off for years. Since Mason's diagnosis, he'd thrown himself into work, building, buying, expanding, because fixing things was all he knew. But no money, no lab, no specialist had ever made his son light up the way he did now. A soft cheer broke out, then a slow clap. One by one, guests joined in. Mason laughed. Nathan couldn't remember the last time he'd heard that sound from his son. It wasn't just joy, it was confidence, freedom. After the song ended, Raina knelt beside Mason again. "You did that." "Not me," she whispered. "That was your dance." Mason beamed. Nathan took a deep breath, then stepped forward. "Thank you," he said, voice low. Raina looked up. "He's got rhythm," she said lightly, brushing her hands on her apron. Nathan tried to smile. "I didn't know he could do that." "He can do a lot more than people think," she replied gently. For the rest of the evening, Nathan couldn't stop watching them. Mason wanted to stay close to Raina. Every time she passed, he'd reach out just to wave or say hi, and she never once ignored him. Later, as guests began to leave and the music faded, Nathan approached her again, this time with intent. "Do you work here often?" he asked. "Only on weekends. I study during the week." "Nursing school?" Nathan hesitated. "I'd like to talk about Mason." Raina looked up, guarded. "Is something wrong?" "No," he said slowly. "Something might finally be right." She blinked. For the first time that night, he looked vulnerable, and she saw it. The next morning, Raina showed up to the Langston estate not as a waitress, but as a guest. Nathan had sent a private car to pick her up. The house was massive, all white stone and glass, nestled on a hill overlooking the bay. Raina clutched her small purse as the front doors opened, revealing Nathan in a sweater and jeans, a softer version of the man from the night before. "Come in," he said, gesturing her inside. Mason rolled in moments later, his face lighting up the moment he saw her. "You came," he said, voice tight but excited. "I said I would, didn't I?" She grinned. Nathan watched the exchange quietly. "I want to talk to you about something," he said, leading her to the sunroom, while Mason went off with his nurse. They sat across from each other. Sunlight spilled over polished floors. You did something last night I couldn't, he said. You gave my son dignity. Raina shifted. All I did was treat him like he wasn't broken? Nathan nodded. That's rare. She shrugged. It shouldn't be. There was a long pause, then Nathan leaned forward. I want to hire you, he said. Raina blinked. Hire me. Yes. As a companion, a mentor, a friend even. Mason opens up to you. That's worth more than anything, Raina frowned, Mr. Langston. I'm in school. I wait tables to pay tuition. I'll cover your school fees. All of them. And I'll make sure you still have time to study. I'm not asking you to be a nanny. I'm asking you to help my son grow. The offer hung in the air like a challenge. She looked down at her hands. Why me? Because you didn't pity him. Nathan said you saw him. Her throat tightened. No one had ever said that about her before, not even during her own hard childhood, bouncing through the foster system. Never quite seen herself. She glanced toward the hallway where Mason had gone. I'll do it, she said quietly. Nathan smiled from the hallway. Mason peeked around the corner. When he saw them both smiling, he wheeled himself in. Are you staying? He asked. Raina reached out, squeezing his hand. Yeah, kiddo, I think I am. Weeks turned into months, and Raina became more than just a companion to Mason. She became his voice when he felt unheard, his cheerleader when he hesitated, and his quiet strength when frustration overwhelmed him. She wasn't there to fix him. She was there to believe in him. And that made all the difference. Mason began to change. He grew more talkative, more expressive. He laughed more, challenged himself during therapy, and even asked to attend a special school with other kids, something he never dared before. Nathan watched all this with cautious awe. For a man who thought he had everything, he was only now realizing how little he truly knew about connection. One night, as the sun set over the estate, Nathan stood on the balcony, watching Mason and Raina in the garden below. She was holding a small speaker, playing soft music as Mason moved his hands in rhythm, guiding a small routine they'd made up together. Nathan's sister Julia stepped out beside him. She's remarkable with him. She said she's changed his life, Nathan replied. Julia smiled. Seems like she's changed yours too. He didn't deny it. Later that evening, after Mason had gone to bed, Nathan invited Raina to sit by the fireplace. You've done more than I could have asked for, he said, and I think it's time I did something for you. She looked confused. You already pay for my tuition, I know, but I want to do more. I want to invest in you. Whatever dream you have, nursing, owning a clinic, teaching others like Mason, I'll fund it. Fully, Raina stared at him. Why? Because when you let my son lead that dance step, you led me into a life I didn't know I needed. Her eyes shimmered. She reached over, placing her hand over his. Then let's keep dancing, all of us. Nathan smiled, the kind of smile that starts slow but reaches deep. Years later, at Mason's high school graduation, he walked across the stage with the help of braces and a cane, cheered on by classmates, teachers, and two proud faces in the front row. His father and Raina, now Dr. Raina Brooks, founder of a nationally recognized clinic for children with disabilities. Sometimes one small step leads to everything.